Hey, it's Wednesday, it's noon. That must be time. That means it's time for the Inspyrd Talks. And I'm here in our new studio setup. I'm so excited that we got this set up and we got it set up right. It sure feels good. Yeah, this is our home for the next little while for running courses, doing all our social media. And of course, the Inspyrd Talks is inspired by the desire to share what it's like to be a coach. What is it like to be a life coach, an NLP coach, a birth coach, a trauma coach? And the best way to do that is interview coaches who are out there doing it, right? People who've been there, done that, got a t-shirt, they're coaching, they have clients, and we're so excited to bring these people to you. And my mission is really simple. The mission of Inspyrd is really simple. I'm a trauma guy. I want to end the stigma associated with trauma. I want to help people heal. And all of the coaches I know, sooner or later, one or more of their clients are going to have trauma. And I agree with Gabor Mate that the root cause of all mental and physical disease is unresolved trauma. So I'm really excited today to introduce a coach who I had the pleasure of working with and doing some of her training. Her name is Carolyn Miller. She's a registered nurse, psychotherapist, and NLP practitioner who supports mothers through a private practice focused on perinatal mental health and birth trauma. She is also a passionate leader and advocate for improving perinatal health in Northern Ontario. Hey, welcome, Carolyn, to our Inspyrd Talks.
Thanks for having me.
You're very, very welcome. You're very welcome. We always, we always say that our mess is our message, meaning that what happened to us in our life often informs why we coach and how we coach, right? Mm-hmm. So I always like to start with your backstory. So give us a little bit about your background. How did you end up here today?
Oh gosh, it was a journey.
Start wherever.
So my background, I started as a registered nurse. I was a cardiac nurse for about 11 years before I went into this area of work. And essentially I had a really horrible postpartum experience. Wow. Went pretty much without any help for a good 3 years, kind of went into my own healing journey and stuff like this. I think it was at the 3-year mark where my doctor was like, oh, maybe we just start you on meds. So it was I was pretty much on the struggle bus silently by myself around people, but very alone at the same time for quite a while. And then I went into my own sort of healing journey, and the therapist or coach that I connected with was an NLP coach. So I had a lot of success there. So I was like, oh, well, I could probably go in this direction and create something to help moms in the area, because there's literally no support in Northern Ontario for new moms and stuff like that. It's slowly improving, but when I was going through it 9 years ago, that was not really a thing. No. So I essentially went in this direction. I was ready to leave nursing and just do life coaching and just coach moms as a coach. And then I think it was your wife who said, I think nurses can practice practice psychotherapy. And I was like,
no, really? It was me. It was me who said it.
Was it you? Maybe it was, I might have been talking anyways. But yeah, so that's where the registered nurse psychotherapist piece came in. So I essentially do somatic therapy and use NLP for birth trauma has been one of the biggest amazing things to watch and walk people through. So yeah.
How many children do you have?
How many kids do I have?
Yeah.
2. They're 7 and 9 now.
Boys, girls?
2 girls.
2 girls, 7 and 9. Mm-hmm. And the doctor who said, well, maybe we should start you on meds. Did they say that the meds would heal what he or she believed you have? Did they actually say, okay, you have X and these meds will heal X?
Well, she actually referred me to a perinatal mental health program, which I didn't really get into because they put me on a wait list, and I was already 7 months postpartum at that point in time, and I didn't get into the program before the year cutoff mark. So there's just a lot of red tape here, there, and everywhere. in that kind of capacity. And I later found out that there's only like one staff for like all of Northeastern Ontario at that
So
program.
a couple million people.
Huge catchment area. Yeah.
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 Yeah. A couple million people scattered over hundreds of thousands of square kilometers.
Yes.
Little communities everywhere.
Yes. Yeah.
So just for the viewing audience, you know, we do have some men that show up even for our female coaches, 100%. And then there's going to be some women who haven't been mothers yet. Can you define for us what the postpartum depression is and what it looks like, sounds like, feels like?
Yeah, I always try and avoid labels, because labels are essentially a group of symptoms. So like for prescription purposes, and you know, that like sometimes labels can be helpful in certain instances, not always. But the group of symptoms is like intrusive thoughts is a really, really big one that people struggle with, like severe anxiety. And a lot of times, I know I struggle with anxiety a lot after my kids, and it doesn't get flagged a lot because it just comes off as like, oh, you're worried, you're concerned for your kids and this and that. But then it starts impeding your daily activities. You don't want to carry your kids down the stairs. You don't want to like give them a bath. Like the intrusive thoughts start to come in. Like it's kind of can be a big sort of mishmash of a lot of things that doesn't look horrible from the outside looking in, but what they're experiencing on the inside can be absolutely a nightmare.
And the anxiety is a fear of the future. And the intrusive thoughts, were they intrusive thoughts of negative future events or intrusive thoughts of past events, or both?
It can, a lot of times postpartum, it can look like what I'm capable of. Like one of mine was like, I didn't want to like do dishes or wash knives because I was like worried I was going to like stab the baby. And the baby's like on the other side of the room, like stuff like that. Like it can come like totally, and like thought doesn't necessarily mean action, but I didn't know that at the time. Right. Yeah. So it's really scary. Going down the stairs. What if I drop the baby? You know, if I crash the car at this side of the road, how do I get the baby out of the car? You know, it's like, it can be like just totally paralyzing and fear. Yeah.
Wow. You said something, and we share a common belief here. Labels are just labels of labels. I always like to say a label is just a label of a label, right? And I agree with you 100%. Sometimes labels help, but my experience is they help the labeler, not the labelee.
Yeah.
So they're helping the person who gives the label decide what to do next.
Yeah.
So if I can bundle all your symptoms up and call it X, then I open my big toolbox and my book says, if you've given label X, prescribe medication A. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Or you qualify for this or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like in certain instances, it can be helpful, like, but in a lot of times with postpartum stuff, it's really not, like, because then you're kind of just coping with these symptoms is what they're doing. Whereas like, I want to know where these symptoms are coming from and what is the like beliefs that person is carrying that is driving these symptoms.
Yeah.
You know?
And this is a subject near and dear to me. You mentioned my wife, Tara. Tara and I's oldest son, Reese, was born in Aga Khan Hospital in Nairobi, Kenya. And as far as births go, it was traumatizing to Tara. Absolutely. We're in a different nation, non-English speakers. It's a teaching hospital. The labor went inappropriately long. But I also have another story of postpartum issues. My first son passed away from a hypoplastic left ventricle shortly after birth. And this is the NLP part of me. We chose to give his life meaning. And so we celebrated his life in the hospital while he was still alive. They gave us a room away from maternity. We invited our friends and family. My sister flew from Sudbury, Ontario to Vancouver to attend that celebration. And I've always said that his life was perfect, just short. He loved unconditionally. He was loved unconditionally. He breastfed, bathed, had a bowel movement. I thought he smiled, but you women always tell me he had gas. But, you know, and he was held and loved. And I think that single act, if it, you know, in its totality, helped my first wife, Leslie, not become a victim of postpartum depression, which she could have. Now, she's a very upbeat, positive person, but that doesn't mean anything, man. And you and I both know it doesn't matter who you are when postpartum depression or traumatic symptoms hit, they just hit, right? Okay. So that's a great backstory. Thank you for sharing that. So today, who do you work with? Who's your ideal client? Who's the client that inspires you most to coach tomorrow?
Yeah, I like moms is my jam. But I
There's
really
that's
love...
a mic drop, Neil. Mums are my jam.
Moms are my jam.
Sorry, Carolyn, have you ever watched Joe Rogan?
I know of it. I'm not a huge follower, honestly.
Okay, well, Joe has a guy named Jamie, right? And who's in the background of running the technology. Now I said, Jamie, pull that up. So I got to get Neil, pull that up. Mothers are my jam.
Mothers are my jam.
That's a me.
But yeah, I really love clients who had a really horrible birth, traumatized from their first birth, want a second baby, but can't bring themselves to that point, or they're pregnant and they're freaking out. Yeah. Because they know they have to go through it again. That's I love watching that transition and that healing process. That is it's my most favorite to guide, I think. Yeah.
So you also know that I'm fairly pragmatic, and I like the frame of lean startup for doing business, especially coaching business, because it gets great clarity. So, your ideal client, these mothers are your jam. And then put in words for me so I don't put in words for you. What is the real world problem you're solving most of the time for them? And it's real for them. It is a real world problem.
Essentially taking moms out of survival and allowing them to enjoy motherhood and postpartum and their children and be in the present moment.
So the problem they have is whatever that experience has been, they are in a survival mode while they're trying to either be a new mom or perhaps even trying to become a mom again.
Yeah.
And survival mode doesn't work very well in either of those activities, does it? No. And so for the people listening, when moms are in that, specifically to motherhood, when moms, new moms or moms to be are in that survival mode, you're talking about the sympathetic arousal, right? They're in a sympathetic nervous system arousal. And the chemistry, cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine, noradrenaline, what does it do to the possibility of conceiving?
Ooh, that's a really sciencey question. It can impact conception pieces and stuff like that as well. I don't know if I have all the answers for the exact science of that, but I know there is correlation to the stress levels and fertility issues and stuff like that.
Wow.
For sure.
Because I say, we don't, the new course I'm teaching, I get more sciencey, and that's why I guess I've evolved down the road where, when you first met me, I just said, do NLP, don't ask questions. It was basically a teaching framework, but now it's do NLP because here's all the science that supports it. Right? And I now realize a couple key pieces of being a coach, and listening to you, I know you do this. We take clients out of their sympathetic nervous system, put them in their parasympathetic. We take them from flight, fight, freeze into rest and digest. We take them from sacrificial to anabolic regenerative. And the act of conceiving and growing that little human in you, you got to spend a lot of time here. Oh yeah. Right. If you're in your sympathetic nervous system, I would imagine, I don't know any of the science, but once you conceive, then being in sympathetic has to have negative impact on the child, the evolving child.
I don't love to make that claim because moms like to take a lot of guilt on for that kind of stuff if they're stressed during pregnancy and yada, yada, yada. So I don't love to make that claim, quite honestly.
Well, that's good. But it's just you and I and 20,000 viewers watching. So what would you say just for you and I?
I don't know. It could, and it's also, I'm not certain on the, I'm not super certain on the evidence on that, honestly, and what that can
Interesting.
look like. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Because whatever chemistry the mom's experiencing, the baby's experiencing in
There
utero,
is,
right?
well, the one thing I do know is that the placenta is an amazing thing, and it
Correct.
can, at baseline, it can filter out 90% of the cortisol.
It can be, say that again.
Filter out 90% of like the cortisol that's getting to baby.
That is a massive piece of
Yeah.
information right there.
Yeah.
That is important for people to understand. So that takes away a lot of that perceived guilt.
Yeah.
Now, that must be a human design. Alcohol and other drugs must be different because that's a creation of humanity ingested. So maybe our placenta is not geared, because certainly alcohol and other drugs are dangerous, right, to the unborn
Yes.
child.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know that. There's a
Mhm.
learning moment. 90% of cortisol.
Mhm.
And other sympathetic nervous system drugs as chemicals as well.
I'm not. I remember learning that one in like a birth trauma course that I took. I'm not certain on all the other pieces of the puzzle, honestly.
Now, Tara was a doula, right?
Mhm.
And one of the reasons she wanted to get involved in NLP, she was looking for mechanisms to help women manage their emotional states.
Mm.
And of course, hypnosis and NLP are two of the greatest gifts for doing that. And her perception was, with 3 kids of her own, that when women get triggered into their sympathetic nervous system at or during the delivery process, that's a survival mechanism.
Mhm.
You can literally shut down the delivery of a child with a rush of adrenaline and cortisol.
Mhm.
That's my understanding. Is that your understanding as well?
Sometimes I don't think it's 100% like for every single case, but it can happen. It can happen, yeah.
It can happen if the saber-tooth tiger's coming in the door and you gotta run.
Essentially. And a lot of times what happens with like that I've learned and that I've found with traumatic births and stuff like that, it's almost like moms have this experience that they totally like dissociate, like they almost like leave their body and it just like happens to them, but they're not really present for it. So I think that's like another mechanism that can kind of happen in that kind of capacity, where they just kind of check out. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. But
So
the problem with that, I was going to say, the problem with that is the reconnecting afterwards, because a lot of times they're still kind of left in that dissociated, disconnected state
after delivery. Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. I've been to 6 deliveries of my own kids, and that makes a lot of sense, actually. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So let's dig in a little bit. So you run a practice. Are you practicing over the internet, or do you have a physical presence?
Yep. So I have a home office, so I do see people in person, which I think is helpful. A lot of times people post-COVID are starting to reemerge and like want in-person stuff. So, but yeah, I have a private practice in Sudbury, but I do virtually with clients in Ontario. So with my registration, I can practice in Ontario.
Yeah. The coaching designation lets you coach anywhere. Yeah. However, if you have a professional designation and it has, if it has boundaries, you're constrained by those boundaries. Yeah. Well, cool. So if a woman engages with you, just walk us through, what might that look like? What kind of assessments do you do? Do you have a protocol that you do, beginning, middle, end? How do you do it all?
How do I do all the magic?
Magic.
Yeah. And I love it because people call it magic a lot of times when we're on the other end of it. So it's always fun. I always say I've always wanted to be Harry Potter. So this is my Harry Potter life.
I love it.
But yeah, so usually mom comes to me in essentially a state of crisis, and this, like they don't know what to do with themselves. They don't know. Do you want me to do like a specific sort of like birth trauma specific kind of case?
Yeah, birth trauma.
Kind of capacity?
Do the one that is your jam.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do like we'll kind of talk through it like a birth trauma type one. So typically, a lot of times the first delivery, like I usually do like in the 45-minute call, I kind of get to know them, where they're at, the symptoms they're experiencing, how it's impacting them, their family, their life, what they want to move towards, which is often the question that stumps people the most. They can tell me exactly how much distress they're in, but they can't tell me how they want to feel. So that's always fun getting to that question, because usually people are like, I don't know, happy. It's like,
maybe,
well, what does that look like? So that's always a fun question to kind of dive into with them. And depending on the person, sometimes it's very obvious to me. Usually the first like session or two is like a building rapport, kind of getting to know their backstory, like their life growing up, their sort of family dynamics, what their supports are like, what they're like. That's a really big factor a lot of times, because even we all know trauma takes away the sleep from you, but it's hard to people don't really realize that when they have a new baby and they're getting up every like 3 hours at baseline, like on a normal day, and they're not eating and they're not drinking enough and like there's a lot of layers to it, right? So I usually like to make sure those things are kind of taken care of, the physical needs, and those are kind of taken care of before diving into it. Sometimes it's very glaringly obvious that there's like really strong beliefs that the person has. Like mom might feel, have beliefs of like not being good enough, or feeling like they failed in some kind of like at baseline before the birth trauma even occurred.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we'll fix that up before diving into the trauma piece.
So you're right in the sweet spot of what you and I would call NLP.
Oh yeah.
Belief structure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always say like a lot of any client, I usually warn like we're going to spend 90% of the time in childhood, because all these symptoms are just like being driven by all those wounds from childhood just kind of reemerge postpartum, and here we are.
You can't imagine how happy you just made me.
Yeah.
You're going to spend 90% of your time. I mean, I just lost a client because military, heavily traumatized. But when I said, okay, I was getting to the root cause. And then when I got to the root cause, and there was a lot of childhood issues, I said, my childhood has nothing to do with my military trauma. I'm okay. My relationship's okay. And this isn't working for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's okay. But yeah, I also do a little activity called the birth house. And it kind of is a way to visualize and pinpoint the areas that were like really, really bad versus the areas that were like okay, and who like the people's roles were and stuff, like just to get clarity on like the parts that were actually the traumatizing parts, because sometimes there are some like glimmers and like really good pieces to it, but it's hard to see when you're like, oh my God, I almost died in my C-section kind of state, Yeah. So yeah.
So is this a Carolyn creation, this birth house?
I learned it from other therapists, but
okay,
I've applied it to this.
Yeah, I've never heard it before, so it's brilliant.
Yeah. So yeah, eventually we get to not too many sessions in. Usually we're ready for doing like the NLP trauma model, and it's like night and day. Like one session, they're like, oh, okay. And I do a lot of like, usually the session after that, we do a lot of future pacing, talking about like the next delivery. I call it birth, like people hear the word birth plan, they think like, oh, what music are you going to play in the delivery room? Like, I don't care about that. Play whatever you want to play. Like, I want everyone to be informed and like filling you in. Like, how are we going to make the next delivery good, that you feel empowered in it and you feel involved in it? And like, if things should go south and you don't get the way you want, what are the steps that your team's going to take and you're going to take to make sure things go okay, and like that you feel okay with it and are involved in it. Yeah.
Nice. All right. And the whole process from that intake that you do, that in-depth and the birth house work, and then the
Mhm.
work you do, it sounds like you have a beginning and then
Mhm.
there's a middle. What does the exit look like? Where do they get to? Sort of what duration do you work with people? I know you can do some Harry Potter stuff, but most of your clients, right?
It depends on the client. I usually say like around 10 sessions is probably good, like plus or minus a few if need be. But
Yeah.
I usually do, so like with the birth trauma, if they're having like second baby coming, I was okay, let's check in after your second birth and see how it all went. And then typically they're like, oh, it went great and everyone's wonderful and happy. And like, I know it's not going to be the case 1,000% of the time, but yeah, usually after that point I like check in and like see how they're like eating, sleeping, like all those sort of needs and everything are being met postpartum there. They have good supports, they're feeling good. And then we essentially like wrap and I'm like, okay, well, enjoy. So
It's interesting. I suspect you see couples when you're out and about in Northern Ontario that you know, now their child is 3 or 4 or 5, and
yeah,
you get sort of a warm fuzzy when that happens.
yeah, yeah. And I do
Yeah.
a fundraiser walk now in the spring called Flora's Walk. It's like a walk for perinatal mental health, and we've started like a local support group that's funded through the funds from that walk. And it's been really great because a lot of like my clients like come with their babies, and then we go for a walk through the Laurentian trails, and it's just like a wonderful little like community thing, and get to see everyone in their like all their glory.
Well,
So
congrats on doing that. That's amazing.
yeah, it's been good. I was done 2 years now. So the first year I used the funds for like pro bono therapy, essentially, like specifically
Yeah.
for birth trauma, which was really great. And then this year we raised like $16,000 this year, which was like really impressive.
Yeah.
And so we started like a monthly support group for moms in Sudbury. Yeah. So it's been
That's
good.
so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, truly, truly exciting. Um, the traumas, because Tara's touched on some of this before. I think you know that when she first started practicing, she was doing birth work primarily, and then her work and her studies in integrative healing just took her other places. But
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was one mom who had been so anxious that she had self-terminated, right, early.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were so traumatized that they couldn't reconceive and
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't. And then she worked with Tara, cleared all that stuff up. And then they had a baby, and then they had
Yeah.
a second baby. And, you know, in terms of wins in life,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, the kind of work you do just has to make, again, I just use warm and
Oh,
fuzzy.
it's like
There's no
so
other way.
rewarding. It's like the most rewarding. Like I couldn't have imagined it to be this rewarding. Like I worked as a cardiac nurse for like 11 years at the hospital, and this like precedes like any sort of reward I ever felt there. Like this is like
Magic.
yeah, literally.
Wow. Kudos
Actually,
to you.
I'm drinking from my like Harry Potter mug today too.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, we have to be. The thing I find, Carol, in NLP is we have to be mindful. Some of the stuff we can do is so fast and so thorough,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, you are able to have a psychotherapy designation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, as you know. So, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you could say you heal whatever you want to heal within the realm of psychotherapy. You'd be okay with the college. I can't,
Yeah.
right? But, you know, so I'm a coach that helps ameliorate the symptoms of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And as a byproduct, 9 out of 10 of my clients are trauma-free.
Yep.
And you know, so you work with people who are having trouble conceiving or trouble managing their emotional states, being a parent or a new parent to be, and you change that, and then you see these healthy, happy families down the road. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
there's anything more magical.
It really is.
Kudos to you. I mean, that's just beautiful.
Yeah. I love it.
So, you know, I think it's a good time to allow you to have a call to action. So if women are out there listening, or you know, heaven forbid I don't do that. What if a man's listening, you know, his wife's struggling? but
Mhm.
she doesn't want to go to the doctor. She doesn't want to take meds. She doesn't want to do this or that. What call to action would you send out to moms to be and moms who are struggling? What would you like them to do?
You don't need a referral from a doctor to see a therapist by any means.
Say that again. I think that's
You
really,
don't
really important.
need a referral from a doctor to see a therapist.
Can I jump in?
Circumstances, yeah.
And I would advise, I say this publicly, so I'll say it here. If you believe you've been traumatized, do not go to your family doctor for a diagnosis.
Mhm.
They're going to accurately diagnose, yeah, you have symptoms of being traumatized, but 9 out of 10, 19 out of 20 times, they're going to open their book and prescribe a drug. So if you're not sleeping, they'll give you a sleeping medication. And for the emotional distress, they'll prescribe an emotional drug, regulatory drug. There is no literature, and I've said this publicly for 11 years now, there's no literature published that shows any sleeping medication enhances the quality of sleep. It may allow you to fall asleep, but it doesn't enhance the REM, the quality, the ultradian cycles, none. And there's not a single drug that heals trauma. Not a single drug, not even psychedelics. You have to do work while you're high on the psychedelics.
Yes.
So it ain't the psychedelics that do it. Yeah. So cool. You don't need a referral. So if you're feeling, I'll get this message, I'll hammer this one home. Now, if you know something's not right, you don't need a referral. You can get a consult. You do free consults, Carolyn?
I do free 45-minute consults.
45-minute consults,
Yep.
huge. And in the show notes, we will put a link to those free consults. So the first call out here is if you know something's not right, get a free consult. Hell, let's do it.
Yeah.
What other call to action would you like people to take? Are you running workshops in the future? Do you have your walk in the spring? What else is going on?
Yes, I have the walk. I'm also working on starting a not-for-profit in Northern Ontario for essentially expanding on the support groups for new moms. There is a lot to be said for the peer-to-peer support groups. So even if therapy is not an option or you don't really want to go down that road or something like that, sometimes just having a friend to talk to who has gone through a similar circumstance, that can be a good step in the right direction. So there's a few of us working towards starting a not-for-profit in Northern Ontario. So any support or anything like that anyone wants, feel free to reach out to me about that. But yeah, a lot of times the postpartum symptoms go very unnoticed. And like I said, just kind of as a worried mom kind of piece of the puzzle. So a lot of it's very internal and not noticeable outwardly. But yeah, there's support out there if needed. There's support. And I have people I can refer to as well. So yeah.
So don't wait a day, a week, a month. If you know something's not right, reach out, have the conversation. If Carolyn isn't the person to help you directly, she has resources.
We'll find
right?
someone. Yep.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
And sometimes it can be even there's a lot of different pieces to the puzzle, right? Sometimes a sleep consultant for your baby, if your baby's literally you're 4 months in and they're still only sleeping 2 hours, not even, right? 4 months of sleeping no more than 2 hours consecutively is going to destroy your brain. So sometimes that is where I send people, okay, you need to go, don't spend money on me right now. We're going to go get a sleep consultant to figure this out so you can actually sleep, So.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough with our oldest child, Tara and I, the University of British Columbia was doing a sleep study and on this technique, very connected, not, let them cry themselves sleep, very connected modality called the Rocky Mountain Sleep Study. And that was a gift because that little bugger wasn't sleeping long, right? And Tara was getting unraveled, and she enrolled with Reese and went through it, and it was amazing. The sleep therapy and where he got to and where she got to as a result. And then the next two kids were beneficiaries of that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it is interesting too for
how much that can affect them. Sleep's huge.
Yeah. Well, and I think we need to be mindful of the words that are being put in our head, right? If you believe your child's going to sleep, I think they sleep better, right? And my oldest boy had colic, So it was a bit of a nightmare, right, for the first 2 months, and then everything normalized.
Mm-hmm.
With our 3 children, Tara and I think by the time Tessa arrived, she was so confident that Tessa would sleep that Tessa slept,
Mm-hmm.
right? Bedtime, there was no anxiety, there was no increased energy in the house. And in fact, hey, it's getting close to sleep time. All the energy was going that way. And Tessa didn't need the sleep therapy to the best of my memory, but you'd have to check with Tara. I fell asleep every child all the time, so I'm not a good sample. Right on. So we're gonna just see. Yeah, we've got some comments, some questions coming up. So Neil's gonna pump those questions into the banner below. There you go.
What inspired me to focus on perinatal mental health? I think it was mostly my own experience, honestly. I chatted about it a little bit at the beginning, but my own experience plus the lack of supports available in my area, specifically like in Sudbury and Northern Ontario. It became very apparent to me how many gaps there were. There's gaps. But yeah, that was like the biggest inspiration. And now I can sleep at night knowing that I've filled the gaps in a little bit.
Wow. Yeah, that's super. And you were in the system, so it's pretty, the gaps were probably pretty obvious to you compared to some other, if you get a broken leg and you show up at the hospital, the system's pretty effective.
Yeah.
X-ray cast, 6 weeks, X-ray cast off, rehab, back to work, right?
Yeah. It was very infuriating, honestly. Like the more I looked into it, just like I'd hit a roadblock and I'd be like, why? Like hit another, why? Like I'd be like, I was very bad at the beginning because I was like, why are all these gaps here? Why are we not doing anything?
Yeah. And gaps or delays.
Oh, big time. And people just like drop off and it's not.
All right.
Not good.
Cool.
How can partners best support moms going through birth trauma? Kindness goes a long way. And essentially supporting physical needs. So feeding mom, bringing her water, supporting sleep in any way possible, encouraging her getting supports. I also want to acknowledge that a lot of times when mom's gone through birth trauma, dad can be traumatized too sometimes because it's a bit different, but they're essentially watching like often a horrible event happen to this person that they love and this like new baby coming, and it's like a whole thing, right? So a lot of times dad, like I've done sometimes have almost like a family meeting sessions where they get to talk about both of their sides of the story, because they might kind of be thinking they're doing what they need to be doing, but they're totally in different directions and different experiences, right? I would say it's probably, if it affected dad too, it'd be worth them to like also get support so they can show up in a more clear capacity for their family.
Yeah, showing up in a resourceful state, huge.
Yeah. What's one small step a mom can take today to start healing?
Call Carolyn.
Call me. No. I think just sharing your story with somebody, like a trusted person, sharing what you're truly experiencing with somebody, whether it's a friend, whether it's a trusted family member, whether it's a lot of times like another mom, would be really helpful, because being able to be understood and seen in that capacity can go a long way, long way. So I think that's like the peer-to-peer support. I'll pitch Postpartum Support International. They have a ton of free support groups online for like all different, like a lot of specific ones. Like those are really, really great because people can chat about and like be seen and understood on that level. So it's really nice.
Yeah, on the note of support groups, I have to put it out there. Everybody knows I have a love-hate relationship with support groups, right? I love support groups for the very reasons you mentioned. And in my specific field, trauma support groups sometimes become enablers. Now, with birth trauma, the mothers are looking to move forward. Their children are getting older. But some people who go all the way, segue all the way back to when we were talking about labels, a person gets labeled as having PTSD and then they go to a PTSD support group. Now they have an identity level label and they're part of this new support group. I'd prefer that they got healthy and they went back to their old support groups, friends, families, right?
That's fair enough.
But I know that support groups you're talking about aren't the way that the support groups I'm talking about. They're supporting them through this event in their life, this postpartum depression or trauma, birth trauma. Yeah. Very
like to
important.
hear that another mom's having like similar intrusive thoughts to you might feel less of like an alien, like something's wrong with you, and like more likely to actually like move past that or move through it and understand yourself better. And, you know,
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Enough said. Do you have one more there? Or are we all caught up? Hey, we're all caught up. So here's the $1 million question, $10 million question. If Neil and I went out and we interviewed 10 or 12 of your clients that you've worked with, and then we brought back to you what they said about you, what do you want to hear? What do you want them to say about you after they've worked with you?
They would totally say I'm magic. Totally.
Say that again. I love it.
They would absolutely say it's magic. It's so fun. Yeah.
Wow.
I get a lot of really good feedback, so it's nice. Yeah.
Mothers are my jam, and the feedback I get is absolutely magic. I think that's a bow. Thank you so much for joining us, Carolyn.
Thank you.
As I said, your website is here. We're going to put your consult note in the footnotes. And if anybody's out there and wants to be a coach, never too late to register. I'm starting a course on Saturday. Even if you wanted to come up and just get a taste of it, you can go down in the show notes. You can book a consult with me on Thursday or Friday and come join us. We're also launching an app in the new year for traumatized people, so people can work privately at home and avoid the stigma saying I'm traumatized, and they can also do it at a price point that's accessible. So there you go. Thank you again, Carolyn, for joining us.
Thank you.
And we're going to hit the closure tick, tick, tick. Stay online. I'd like to have a couple words before we go.
Sounds good.
All right. See you.
Thanks so much.